Jasmine, Sarah.
Okay, yeah, I'm not using the microphone because I'm loud enough as it is. Yeah. I sent out handouts if you guys just want to take one and like keep passing them down the road. They're slowly making their way around it. Okay. So I want to preface this by saying I'm really bad at writing talks. Like when people ask me to like give talks, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like write down what I want to say, and then 5 minutes before I'm supposed to talk, I'm like, well, crap. That's kind of what we're going with today. I actually do have notes though, so that's a bonus. That doesn't ever happen. So you guys are lucky. And I made the handouts. I'm not gonna like read all of these, but these are different scripture passages that kind of talk about sex and the idea of sex being sacred and holy. So you guys can read through these and, like, feel free to read the Bible just overall in general. But these are like specific passages that they kind of are important to me in regards to sexuality. And so you guys just saw the Christopher West video. Who's actually ever seen Christopher West like live? Yeah, awesome sauce, right? Right? Okay.
Before you all came, there were only 5 of us.
Really? Well, I'm glad we helped out with that. Okay, I saw Christopher West, I think it was two years ago now, when the university brought him here. And I was like, what is this guy talking about? All I got was he liked to talk about sex. That was what I got. And granted, I was still kind of, how shall we say, warped in the idea of what true sexuality meant and the beauty of femininity and my sexuality and what that meant in my life. I was raised Catholic in, in a Catholic home. My parents got divorced, but my dad still took us to church on Sundays, went to PSR classes or like Sunday school. I was baptized, confirmed, all that stuff in the church. But my parents never really explained how important sex was. It was kind of, don't do it. Thanks, Mom and Dad. That's helpful. And so that was kind of what we got. Even as a grown-up, if you even mention the word sex to my dad, he turns about 12 shades of red, no joke. And my dad is almost 60, and I'm almost 25. Man, I didn't want to say that. Okay. But yeah, it's so talking about sex in my family was just not something that was done ever, in any way, shape, or form. And so I really had no idea of what sex was. I saw it in movies a little bit, on TV. I wasn't allowed to watch Dawson's Creek when I was a teenager. Many of you guys probably don't even know what that is. But I wasn't allowed to watch that because it was too sexual, according to my dad. And so, growing up, we weren't allowed to date until we were out of high school, so that was never really an issue. I had a boyfriend in high school, but I didn't tell my parents about it. And by our definition of boyfriend, we saw each other if we happened to be going to the same movies on the weekend. That was what boyfriend meant for me. So I never even had my first kiss till I was 16, and it was the worst experience of my life. I don't even count it as my first kiss. So yeah, I was pretty sheltered as far as sex and what that meant. However, once I kind of got out on my own, when I was 20, I kind of went from 0 to 60 in a few months. I got a boyfriend, and being that when I was growing up, I never really got an idea of what it meant to be loved by my parents My mom and I didn't get along very well. My dad was not really around. And so like I really didn't have this idea or like this good idea of what love meant. And so when I got my first boyfriend, all I knew was like, I wanted him to love me. I wanted to feel what I never felt growing up. And he was older than I was, and he asked me to go on birth control, and I did. And I didn't really understand why that was a problem. My boyfriend and I wanted to have sex, and so we did, and we wanted to be safe. And so because he asked me to, and I thought I loved him and wanted to keep him happy, I went on birth control. And because of that decision that I made when I was 20 years old, when I was at a very stupid place in my life, now I have to deal with the consequences of that, which I have a very serious life-threatening blood clot condition that developed because I was on birth control. I may never be able to have children. And if I am able to get pregnant, there's a very high possibility that I wouldn't survive the pregnancy. And I always thought, like, I don't really want kids. I was the oldest of 9 kids. I pretty much raised all my siblings. So for me, I was like, you know what, I don't want kids. So I don't, whatever, I don't care. And so like being on birth control made it that much easier for me because I was like, well, I don't want kids anyway, so what does it matter? But now, at 25, when I'm almost 25, at that point in my life where I'm considering marriage and the possibility of never being able to give my husband children, it's a very sad, real experience and consequence in my life. And if I could take that back, I would. I would give anything to know that I could have a child. Even if I don't desire to have a child myself, just to know that I could safely give birth to a child and not have to worry about possibly leaving my child without a mother. It makes me cry a lot. Ask my roommate. And it's kind of funny because, when I first found out about the blood clots, I was 20 years old. I had no idea what that meant. I thought I was going to be in the hospital for a week. Everything would be all fine, and I could go back to living my life the way that I did. And, well, God said, I don't think so. And looking back, I'm kind of like, dude, what's wrong with you? Like, God gave you a wake-up call, and you totally just gave it to birth. And, that's what I feel like I did. Because not only did I not, I stopped taking birth control because the doctors told me to kill me, but I still had this deep desire to feel that love that I didn't feel like I ever got, and didn't understand that even though I didn't get that love from my parents and my family, that I could still get it from God. Instead, I chose to continue getting it in meaningless sexual relationships. And, I dated probably 2 or 3 guys after that. Same routine. They told me they loved me. I had sex with them, and, eventually we broke up. And actually, the month before